Obviously, they knew this. Why is Piers being so charitable? This poor little Israel has no concept of what's going on. What a stupid position.
We have to put Israel back in the junior partner role if we're going to accomplish our strategic
Why couldn't you
objectives.
persuade Pete Hegseth of any of this?
Because everybody in the administration is a fucking retard. What are you talking about?
Sycophant, yeah.
They can't even extract a commitment from the Israelis to stop fighting Hezbollah. That's how badly they're beat.
Dude, you got
What is he on?
It's shameless. A democracy can't survive these people. You can't suffer the stupidity of idiots like this and have like a serious national dialogue about anything. This is impossible. It's untenable. I don't know how we're supposed to survive stuff like this. This is crazy.
The Israelis might have made a slight misjudgment on that effect. It's war. I think the Iranians made a much...
Oh my God. I want to know what this sucking piece of shit. I want to know what this was saying about Biden's pullout from Afghanistan. Was it the strongest language of condemnation, the most unhinged, insane Biden's murder? I want to know what he had to say about Hillary Clinton and Benghazi. She should have predicted that embassy should have been. She should have known that that's what I said out there. She should have said the whole military. I want to know what this guy said about every single military death, anything that happened, or any Democratic presidency.
Just about everybody on all sides of the Iran war debate is taking a victory lap today. Everybody was right, it seems, and everybody has won. The notable exception is Israel. As we speak, is continuing to pound Lebanon. Israeli officials say the ceasefire doesn't include Lebanon and the war must go on. A direct...
He just doesn't give a fuck. Netanyahu's gotten so much of everything he's fucking wanted, dude. What an unreal, Jesus, what an unbelievable run. A generational run, some might say, for that guy.
Contradiction of the Pakistani and US position. Today, the leader of Israel's opposition said that if this ceasefire is as good as it gets, it will amount to, quote, one of the most severe strategic failures in Israeli history. None of this bodes well for a permanent end to the war, unless, that is, President Trump is about to break with Bibi Netanyahu. Somewhat lost in the excitement of Trump's vow to end Iranian civilization yesterday, New York Times released an extraordinary report on how Netanyahu made the case for war in the White House. The Israeli premier, it says, planned a simple mission with swift regime change, but it had to be now. Or General Kane, the top US military official, reportedly told the president, "Sir, this is, in my experience, standard operating procedure for the Israelis. They oversell and their plans are not always well developed. They know they need us and that's why they're hard selling."
What?
All of this appears to echo the position of Vice President J.D. Vance and the former Secretary of State Antony Blinken. For several weeks now, we've been told it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory to say that Israel dragged the US into this war. Perhaps the only people who can plausibly declare victory today are those...
I mean, that's not really the only thing that people say that makes it anti-Semitic, but okay, Piers, based.
who said the evidence suggested otherwise. To debate all of this, I'm joined by Joe Kent, the former director of the US National Counterterrorism Center, and Will Chamberlain, the senior counsel at the Article 3 project. Well, welcome to both of you. I mean, Joe Kent, a lot of what you said when you resigned appears to have been pretty much confirmed by that New York Times report, which is extremely detailed and paints a picture of Netanyahu in the White House, in the Situation Room, with the head of Mossad appearing on a screen next to him, in which he laid out a four-point plan for why this would work: decapitating the regime, the people would rise up, they would be too powerless to shut the Strait of Hormuz, and so on, most of which has not happened. What do you feel about the fact there's now this ceasefire, albeit it seems quite a perilous one? Is it a recognition, do you think, by President Trump that he's got to get out of this?
Well, I think it's a good thing that President Trump took the opportunity to enact a ceasefire and to get both sides to the negotiating table. I think what's key, though, is that President Trump has to realize in order to accomplish our strategic goal, which is ending this conflict, reopening the Straits of Hormuz, and maintaining the alliances that we have in the Gulf, he has got to restrain the Israelis. The Israelis have a different strategic goal than we do. They want to take down the entire regime. They don't care how long it takes. They don't care how much we have to commit in terms of blood and treasure. So the Israelis and us have parted ways in terms of strategic objectives.
If this is what you wanted, Trump is the guy that's going to restrain the Israelis. Trump is the guy who approved the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem to legitimize Israel's control of East Jerusalem as well. Trump is the guy who bragged about the Abraham Accords, which allowed Israel to achieve more on paper normalization with other Arab states, excluding the Palestinians. Trump is the one who tore up the Iranian nuclear deal, the JCPOA. Trump is the one who authorized strikes the first time, like a year ago or whatever, against Iran. Where were you guys here? Like, it's not even like you had to be like a genius to see this coming. This is not like hard to see stuff.
Maybe what a Trump presidency in 2020
2024 might look for Israel, particularly with his relationship with Miriam Adelson?
Yeah, I think that's, the Adelsons, for example, gave him, I think, $100 million or something in 2016. I think now the widow is going to give him $120 million. And to me, I don't think that there's actually, I had to hear this.
These guys are supposed to be the Nazis, by the way. These are supposed to be the Nazi guys.
2016 as well. There were a lot of alt-right guys at the time who were looking at the relationship between Trump and the Adelsons, and they were calling him just like they are now, Zion Don. They're saying that he's just going to be an Israeli puppet. And you look at how that actually played out. By the way, calling him a Zionist is the way that they would call George Bush a Zionist, Barack Obama, like pretending that's all the same thing. You look at how that played out, and okay, he relocated an embassy, and then we have a photograph taken at a wall, which now I have to see is like the reason why he's supposedly such a sellout. You look at what's going on right now in the Middle East. I understand as we speak, Israel is launching an invasion, I suppose, a ground invasion into Lebanon. But we're hearing that there's going to be World War III. We've been hearing that with Iran forever. It's never metastasized. I don't think that it will. And I don't think that Trump is beholden to these interests the way that people like to think that he is. I think Trump looks at everything through the lens of the art of the deal. And if people are willing to give him $100 million instead of the other guy, he's willing to say, yeah, and what leverage do they really have? I mean, okay, give them the money, now what?
True.
Israel wants sovereignty over the West Bank. How does that affect me as an American patriot? I mean, you could say maybe it'll escalate tensions in the Middle East. As Destiny mentioned, we killed like their top guy and they didn't do anything. They rose the flag. They said, we're going to get you, America. They didn't do anything. So frankly, I'm not worried about it. And yeah, if they want to write Trump a check for $100 million to make it easier for him to get elected, I don't see the obvious downsides to that, which weren't iterated in 2016 as like guarantees things that were going to happen. So I just don't think it's an issue, to be honest. And by the way, I have thought about that quite a lot online. I put my reputation behind that. If Trump ends up going to war with the Middle East on behalf of Israel, I'll be the first one to get up and say, I was wrong. But I noticed the people who were doing the opposite, saying that Trump is totally a slave to the Israel lobby. They kept their mouths shut and never apologized for saying those things about the man who's now taking a bullet for them. So I will put my reputation behind that. But I noticed that Trump's detractors will not do the same.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I went over to Israel for 2 weeks, and after talking to a lot of Palestinians on the ground there, I would say that Donald Trump makes me really nervous when it comes to Israel, because I've never seen a more Zaghi type president. It makes me really worry that I think Donald Trump ordered that hit on Soleimani. He was the leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is responsible for a lot of international meddling that goes along, inside of Israel. He supported Hezbollah, he supported the Houthis, he supported Hamas. And I kind of wonder if Donald Trump only ordered that assassination because of the $100 million that Adelson and other AIPAC donors sent to his campaign. I know Donald Trump is on record saying publicly that he is Israel's strongest supporter. I know that Donald Trump created a position in the White House and sent his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to the Middle East to negotiate peace deals for Israel. I don't know why the United States is risking itself to make peace agreements for Israel, for other countries between them and Israel. And then I know that we talk about moving the embassy and recognizing it. I think it was like America, it was like one of 3 countries to do that. That was really
America,
weird.
Kuwait,
and along with that, I think Trump was also willing to go along with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu was talking about cutting UNRWA funding and everything to the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And I don't think that Donald Trump did anything to hold Israel accountable for any behavior in the Middle East. So I think one of the things that I'm the most worried about when it comes to Donald Trump and foreign policy is he definitely comes off as kind of like an Israeli Jewish puppet, and that just makes me really nervous, I think. I'd rather have somebody like Kamala Harris, who seems to be really critical of Israel and their foreign policy and seems to be a lot less bought and paid for by people of the Torah.
To be honest with ourselves, it sounds like, considering the fact that someone shared the origins of this war with the New York Times, that is recognized now by this administration. So the first thing that President Trump has to do in order to make sure this lasts is actually restrain the Israelis, take away key components of the military aid that we give them so that they lack the capability to go on the offense and to spoil this ceasefire.
Will Chamberlain, your response to that?
I mean, I think that's a completely incoherent idea, not merely wrong, but just incoherent. First off, it presupposes we have the ability to take away their offensive capabilities. Newsflash, they already have them. We can't just seize them. Are we going to invade Israel and take their planes? We can't. They have the F-35. They have these capabilities. Remember, they launched the 12-day war on their own. So, I mean,
no, but
even
America,
the debate
but
itself
on that
is
point,
silly.
Will, on that point, the Americans could withdraw their funding.
But it wouldn't.
The billions of dollars that go to the Israelis, which they use to fund their own military, that could just be withdrawn. So America isn't powerless. It can exercise that power.
Right, but the offensive capabilities they would need to strike Iran, they already have. They're the second.
People have this stupid feeling that the only reason Israel exists is because the U.S. has backed them forever, and if the U.S. stops backing them, it's going to change it. It's not. It won't. That's bullshit. We do help them a bit financially, but like they'll be fine without us.
Biggest air force in the world today. Even if we said we're not going to give you $4 billion a year going forward, that wouldn't stop anything. And then the second point is that this is an unbelievably silly approach to foreign policy because we haven't hammered out final terms with the Iranians yet. We're still in the middle of negotiation. The idea that we would restrain our ally, who, by the way, just helped us achieve one of the greatest military victories of the modern era, we would restrain them.
Wait, what are we talking about? Oh, fuck. Why is there nobody? I'm the only person in the world. I hate my audience. I'm the only person in the world who is not deranged about Israel-Palestine. You either have to be the mega Zionist dick suck, or you have to be the most fucking Zog anti-Semitic fucking crazy neo-Nazi, or you have to be a weird anti-America pro-Pally. Why can't anybody just have like a centered, measured take? Israel helped us with one of the most impressive military victories of the modern era. What are you talking? Come on, bro. What?
Helped us achieve one of the greatest military victories of the modern era.
Oh my God.
We would restrain them instead of trying to use the threat of continued...
No, yeah, us bombing Iran. I'm guessing a year and a half ago, maybe, or Or maybe what you were
Project
just
Midnight
talking
Hammer?
about. Yeah, or Project Epic Fury or whatever. I don't even know which one.
Oh, they're fucking retarded. Like,
Yeah,
the
I
United
know.
States utterly lost. Like, it's
well,
insane.
maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we're going to blow them up next with nukes.
Belligerence from them to extract more punitive terms from the Iranians is silly. It's just completely antithetical to how things should work. And the idea that we need to be worried about our Gulf neighbors who would be upset if we didn't restrain the Israelis is also absurd, because our Gulf neighbors are on our side. And this war has not only solidified our position militarily, it's solidified it diplomatically, because all those countries are furious with the Iranians and are on our side and want to strengthen cooperation with both us and Israel.
But what is clear from that New York Times report, it seems to be incredibly well sought. So somebody's been talking who was in that room. What is clear from that is that the Israelis, maybe this was an honest mistake on their part, a misreading.
What? Why would you say that? Old people love Israel, bro. Old people love Israel. Maybe they messed up.
Of the situation. But they certainly appear to be of the belief, if you took out the Ayatollah and some of the top people with him, that this would then lead to an uprising by the people.
Remember, Israel is the same country that that had Shmuley Pagerstein sell pagers to every single fucking Hezbollah operative, okay? Were they behind the helicopter crash? Was that Eli Copter that killed the Iranian president like a year or 2 or 3 or 4 ago or whatever? I don't know if that was supposed to be a Mossad op or not, okay? Who were disabling Iranian anti-air systems twice, right? Once during the first attack, and I think they did in this last time, but there was also Israeli intelligence there. They just made a mistake. Oh, actually, we completely botched and fucked up the Iran thing. Like, these guys just had no concept about the Iran stuff. The craziest thing about all of this is literally the fact that Tulsi Gabbard said that Israel's objectives are just not the same as ours. What the fuck are we even doing? What are we doing? Who knows?
And that amid all this chaos, there would be no ability to close the Strait of Hormuz. Well, none of that has really happened. Yes, they got rid of the Ayatollah, but he's just been replaced by other similarly minded people. And then there's been no uprising by the Iranian people whatsoever. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz has been held in a kind of stranglehold by the Iranians in a very powerful way. It has to be.
Is there actually like a person or a group or an org or a political party or something that was like supposed to take over Iran? I thought uprisings normally happen when you have like a group who are ready to take over governing. So some rebel group or another government party or an ousted leader or something like that. Like I hadn't heard any of this with regards to Iran at all. Was this even a thing, or was this just like, did we just pray that maybe people would just walk to the Ayatollah's Congress? Or I don't know what that would even look like. Like, what? Jesus. 90 million people, bro. That country.
Conceded, which has caused enormous damage to the global economy. They've basically controlled that strait now for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's caused hell. And none of that appears to have been predicted by the Israelis in their sales pitch to Trump to join them on this war.
Why are we saying this? Fuck me, dude. Don't make me take the anti-Semitic position of Israel tells what this. Obviously, they knew this. Why is Piers being so charitable that this country, this poor little Israel, has no concept of what's going? What a stupid position. What a stupid position to take.
Well, so I think you're overstating a number of things there. First off, I mean, the Iranian Navy is gone, right? They're controlling the strait by threatening to shoot at people, but they don't have any naval forces meaningfully in the area. And the idea, remember, they were thinking that card, which is
you don't need meaningful things to shut down trade. Look at what the fucking Houthis did. For how long did they encumber or delay or fuck up trade, inhibit trade? For what do they even have in that country in terms of like bombing? Like, you just have to plant a bunch of bombs on a fucking boat on a, what do they call them? Like a skiff? And you just fucking send it into ships and you can blow shit up.
their only trump card. That's the maximum.
But it's a very
they have.
powerful card.
Yeah, that all they can do is shut down global energy markets. That's all they have. That's literally the only thing they could possibly do. So what's the big deal?
It's one that
Well,
the Israelis
they were saying 2 weeks
the Israelis
ago-
did not think they had the power,
Right.
according to the New York
Israelis
Times
might have made a
report.
slight misjudgment on that effect. It's war. I think the
That's a
Iranians made a
massive-
much.
Oh my God. I want to know what this fucking sucking piece of shit with this fucking shitty hairdo and stupid pretentious glasses and shitty fucking suit jacket. I want to know what this fucker was saying about Biden's pullout from Afghanistan. Was it the strongest language of condemnation, the most unhinged, insane Biden's murder? I want to know what he had to say about Hillary Clinton and Benghazi. She should have predicted that embassy should have been. She should have known that that's 100% out. That she should have said the whole military. I want to know what this guy said about every single military death, anything that happened under any Democratic presidency. The Biden admin is the kid that turned the president with half the questions unanswered and bragged about getting to leave early. Joe Biden's endless wars. Anthony Blinken is at the center of the Biden administration's failure in Afghanistan. When terrorists attacked our embassy in Benghazi, Hillary and Obama did exactly nothing and watched as our ambassador died. When terrorists attacked our embassy in Baghdad, Trump sent in the devil dogs and then assassinated the perpetrator, Qasem Soleimani, within the week. Yeah, it's predictable. They're ghouls. These people are ghoulish. To have the audacity to say, who could have ever thought that they would have shut down the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we assume that Israel doesn't give a fuck about the Strait.
Who could have
in the
ever
meantime.
thought? I don't know. I read somewhere that they can get their energy just fine. It actually doesn't impact them that much. But I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I would believe that's true or not. I have no idea.
Well, I was just thinking like the benefits for them would outweigh the negatives for the meantime.
Bigger misjudgment overall when you talk about the complete destruction of their military capability.
Indeed,
Right, but if you take away the Strait of Hormuz issue, then you've got overwhelming military dominance by the Americans and Israelis. Yes, the Iranians would have still attacked their neighboring Gulf states, but that would be a military conflict part of it.
If you take away the most important
part, the Strait
part.
of Hormuz has been shut pretty much for 5 weeks. That has been an asymmetric war, which, with the best will in the world, has been wielded very successfully by the Iranians. For whatever
I don't
reason.
think so at all. I think that's actually been wielded quite poorly.
Prior
2 weeks
to
ago,
this-
let me
this
finish my
war-
point, Joe, and then you can speak. 2 weeks ago, the Iranians were saying, we're not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz unless we get a permanent peace deal, a permanent commitment to non-aggression and reparation. What are they trading it for as of yesterday? 2-week ceasefire, no promises. They can't even extract a commitment from the Israelis to stop fighting Hezbollah. That's how badly they're beaten.
Dude, you got
What is he on?
It's shameless. These people need to be locked in. This is. You can't survive. A democracy can't survive these people. You can't suffer the stupidity of idiots like this and have like a serious national dialogue about anything. This is impossible. This is like, it's just it's untenable. I don't know how we're supposed to survive stuff like this. This is crazy.
I don't know how you look at the facts of the matter of what's happening there and being like, well, actually, America's winning. It's fucking, it's retarded.
It's insane to me.
Okay, well, Joe,
You know what? If we fucking started crystal nodding or holocausting our Jews, it's kind of funny because in a way, I think this was how Germany was selling the war to the people in World War I. You didn't have all this TV back and forth and all the updates from the front line. And I think Germans thought that they were winning the war basically up until the full unconditional butt-fuck surrender to the Western powers. They just basically got the announcement one day. They're like, hey, yeah, we completely lost. And they thought they were winning the entire time. And this is one of the reasons why the Jewish myth of the stab in the back, that the Jews somehow made us lose when everything was going our way or whatever. It's one of the reasons why that myth was able to propagate so much, is because the German population thought they were winning right up until in the end where they lost. And it's kind of funny because I wonder if we're setting ourselves up for the same thing. Like, we really thought we were doing the fucking Jews got in our goddamn way again. They fucking pulled one over Trump's eyes. They really fucked us over again, guys. Like,
he called you silly and incompetent, I think, earlier. So this is your chance to respond.
So prior to this war, the Straits of Hormuz were transited by anybody trading oil for free. Post-war, the Iranians are going to be able to extract a fee. That's one of their negotiating chips they have now.
No, they won't.
Prior to the war,
no, they won't. No.
Oh.
No, I don't believe in that part. No.
He'll defend it in the future.
the Ayatollah that we killed was actually at the negotiating table with us. The reason why none of this was taken into account is because the Israelis didn't really care about what would happen to the Straits of Hormuz. They didn't care what would happen to our Gulf allies. Our Gulf allies right now still technically are with us, but the fact that we were unable to provide them with security guarantees.
You also have to remember, this, as unsavory as it is, we have allies in the Gulf because we support authoritarian monarchs in those places. It doesn't really speak to what the population thinks of us. Now, the population will broadly kind of follow leaders, not with without some misgivings, though. But you got to be careful for that, because the reason why we were so friendly with the Gulf is because a lot of those people are Western installed and backed monarchies, right? These are not democracies where the people are voicing their love and undying support for the United States and its interested allies in the Middle East. Always keep that in the back of your mind, Be careful on that. Be careful on that one.
Lowers our status in the region, potentially could threaten the petrodollar in the region. And so right now we're in a weaker position because we listened to a foreign government that had a different strategic goal in mind than we did. So it's great that we got the ceasefire. We need to maintain that ceasefire, and we have to actually withhold things from the Israelis, which we can do. The Israelis do have a modern air force, but they rely on us for a lot of the logistics, the refueling, in order to be able to reach into Iran. So we very much are in the driver's seat of what we
Well, that's not true, Joe. That's just obviously false because we didn't help them with
No, it's
refueling in the
100% true.
12-day war.
They cannot reach into Israel. I've actually been in the military, man. I've been part of these operations.
Then explain how they did the 12-day war without refueling. Right? If we weren't participating in the operations of the 12-day war, they struck the hell out of it.
We helped them out a good deal with logistics. They can't sustain operations without us. They wouldn't be able to continue to sustain operations all the way into Iran with conventional military forces in any meaningful way without our support. We have to pull that back. We also have to pull back their ability to go on the offense outside of their borders, because it's going to interfere with the peace that we're trying to achieve. Right now, we're paying for their defense, we're paying for the offense, and also in terms of our status in the region and our ability to keep commerce and oil flow going out of the Straits of Hormuz and the Middle East, all of that is being negatively affected by us listening to a foreign government. So we have to put Israel back in the junior partner role if we're going to accomplish our strategic
Why couldn't you
objectives.
persuade Pete Hegseth of any of this?
Because everybody in the administration is a fucking retard. What are you talking about?
Sycophant, yeah.
Well, I tried. So therefore,
And he didn't agree with you. And he has better intelligence than you. You weren't privy to any of this stuff. Like, you just don't know. That's why you're now on the outside doing podcasts instead of inside the administration trying to shape policy.
And that's why our current policy has us doing one of the most unbelievable surrenders. I don't even understand what happened. I don't understand what happened. That we ran in, started a war, and then unconditionally surrendered so much in so quick a time period that I'm not even taking it seriously, because there's no way that that could be the conditions. Like, and you're making fun of this guy for not being part of the current cluster-fucked administration? What was the thing that Kemp left over exactly again? Was it related to Iran? Wasn't it?
Wait, say it again? This guy, why he left?
Yeah, this guy left.
I'm pretty sure it was literally over the Iran shit.
Yeah.
He did a whole fucking
Seems-
statement on it.
yeah.
He's like, I don't feel good in this war. Yeah.
Kind of seems like maybe this guy was correct. God, this disgusting, fucking, slimy fuck piece of shit. Oh my God, I hate this guy so much.
You don't know.
Well, I
You
did my best to
didn't
shape
persuade
it
him.
from the inside. Like, look, man, my letter of resignation has been out there. What's important right now is that we support President Trump in getting this peace deal and making sure it actually sticks. The problem is, as confirmed by the New York Times, that was well sourced from within the West
No, it
Wing.
wasn't.
The
You guys are
Israelis were
mischaracterizing the New
in
York
the
Times
driver's seat for all of this. Well, if you read the article, I think it's pretty
Well, out of
evident. You know
interest,
how leaks work in Washington,
Will.
D.C.
Okay, Will.
He's saying it's not sourced. What we've heard today, I guess we'll listen to the article after this, is people are claiming that the leaks, I don't know if it's like the most likely, but that these leaks came from J.D. Vance.
Well, it sounds like there was like 5 people in the fucking room. Like,
Yeah, and also keep in
So-
mind, we've been getting so many leaks from this administration. And remember, leaks probably mean people are not happy with what's going on. People are reaching out to the media because they're desperate, either to save their own asses, so they could say, yeah, I was trying to fucking get ahead of this shit. I knew it was fucked. Or because they are hoping that the public opinion will turn so much against the current administration that it'll change the course of our foreign policy.
The New York Times.
Well, if you say
Yeah.
if you say it wasn't well sourced, Will, which part are you contesting?
All of it.
No, it was well sourced. You guys are just mischaracterizing how much influence Israel had based on what was written in that article.
What?
Which was Israel gave a
Did you read
presentation.
it?
Yeah, I read it completely. And then after the Israelis were offline, right, then you had the meeting between the U.S. principals,
Yeah.
in which John Ratcliffe and others were talking about, yeah, the Israelis are overselling their ability to achieve regime change. That's probably not going to happen. But they said, on what we've thought for a while is when it comes to missiles and when it comes to their ballistic shield, when it comes to their Navy, we have the capability to do that, and we should do that. And
Why? Just because we can? Because we have the opportunity to? Like the guy accidentally left his army out unprotected and we can F1A move and blow the whole shit up? Because what?
And so the idea that, we didn't get suckered into a regime change war. From the outset, American goals did not include regime change. From Trump's very first
Donald
speech,
Trump
Czech
literally
Republic
this is a
talked
said
about
retarded
regime
argument
regime
because
change.
then why go in when they did?
What? Yeah,
Like,
none of this makes like he has an impossible to defend position.
No, they didn't even have the right targeting because they obviously fucking shot like 2 children's schools at this point.
Well,
so like they
it's-
could have taken their fucking time.
Future terrorists, Moten. Future terrorists.
Whatever.
Early on. Literally. Donald Trump literally
Trump
said
regime change was an
change.
objective of the war. Fact check me on that after. He never did.
You don't think Donald Trump ever mentioned regime change?
Incorrect. I didn't say that. I said it wasn't a military objective
Donald
of the war.
Trump
He
is
said it
still
would be nice to
claiming
have,
today
but it's not
that
the
he has
goal of the war.
affected. He's claiming today he's affected regime change. What are you talking about?
He's affected it. That's because he's
The United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change.
basically saying we killed all the senior leadership, which we did, by the way, in an unprecedented fashion.
So who's running the country?
But that doesn't mean it was an original military
who is
objective
running
of the war.
Iran?
Wait, it wasn't an objective to regime change. It just happened by accident? What are these?
They do say that. The whole administration has been saying that.
That's retarded.
Yes.
How do you
yes,
accidentally,
yes.
you understand that, like, if we were to take that as a true statement, that isn't a good thing, that's catastrophic, right?
Yes.
You killed
Because
because you
yes.
killed everybody, like, that's not a good thing. Like, that's literally a
You
mistake.
wouldn't want regime change if that's not your goal. Yeah, and then you've gotten it, so it's retarded. Yeah.
Right
Fact check
now.
me on this, man.
Who's
Like,
running-
go look at his original statements.
I
Said it would be nice to have, but it's not an objective
Trump
of the war.
changed his goalposts every 10 seconds. That's been part of
I mean,
the
this
big...
has been remarkably consistent from Hegseth, Rubio on down. Go look at their public statements. What did they say? An official objective of Operation Furious regime change.
Why
No.
did America launch a preemptive strike against Iran? Will?
Oh, to essentially prevent them from building up a further ballistic missile capability as a shield behind
No,
which
that
they would
wasn't
be
the
able to
reason.
develop
That
a nuclear
was
weapons
not the
program.
reason
That's the
given
core
by
reason.
that was not the reason given by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
False. Go look it up, man. He said it over and over and over again.
On camera, he said when he was first asked, The reason the United States launched a preemptive strike against Iran was because another country, brackets Israel, had indicated they were going to attack Iran, and therefore the Americans knew there would be attacks against some of their interests in the Middle East, so they got in first. Marco Rubio's
that was the reason for the timing,
on camera.
not the reason for the strike.
It just killed me,
Timing
man.
and strike are kind of inseparable, right? Like sometimes people will make the statement of like, oh, you know, like, well, it was the right thing, but the wrong time or whatever. That's called the wrong thing. That's just the wrong thing. Timing matters. Like what?
The strategic reason for the strike, which Rubio explained in that very same press conference. I remember the exact one you're talking about. It's like a gaggle, and I think he's in Congress after having a meeting with people. This is very early in the war. He says the reason for the strike is to prevent them from developing their ballistic missile shield further. The reason for the timing, like why today, why February 28th, was the fact that they had this intelligence about the meeting of Ayatollah Khamenei and everybody else, and that Israel was going to go ahead with that under any circumstances. So we should do it.
Why? Excuse me? How are we so cucked? We're claiming that we have the ability to control Russia, but we can't control we can't restrain Israel? Excuse me? What you're saying, I don't understand. He just gave the whole game away. He just said the reason why we did the strikes is because Israel was going in, so we had to go first. How does this make any sense?
Yeah, he's saying Israel big dicked America.
Yeah.
Why February 28th, was the fact that they had this intelligence about the meeting of Ayatollah Khamenei and everybody else, and that Israel was going to go ahead with that under any circumstances. So we should do it now. Go back and look at that. I know exactly what press conference you're talking about, and I don't think you are remembering one piece of it, but you're not remembering.
It's a pretty significant piece when the Secretary of State of the United States, on record, says that the reason for the preemptive strike by the United States was because Israel was attacking Iran. And then we hear from Antony Blinken, one of his predecessors, that Netanyahu had tried to sell this to both Biden and Obama, and when they both rejected the...
Oh, he's been trying to do this forever, huh?
Interesting. But we had actual presidents then who were like, you know what? Nah, I don't think so. Not going to go ahead with this one. Nice try, BB. Good one.
For the next
to join in attacking Iran. Guess what? Israel didn't attack. So it looks like he got third time lucky with Trump, who went along with it. But had Trump said no, I don't think Israel would have attacked.
Well, but then why did they strike in the 12-day war?
They did that without
let's talk about the 12-day war. Let me bring Joe back in this. The 12-day war is fascinating because I distinctly remember, and I'm sure Will remember it differently to me, but I remember Donald Trump at the end of the 12-day war saying that this had put back any aspirations by the Iranians to build a nuclear weapon decades, that we had obliterated their nuclear capabilities. It was done, gone. And here we are 9 months later having to launch a full-fledged war in Iran because the threat remains apparently not just the same, but so imminent that America had to act immediately. Now, try and make sense of that for me, Joe.
He's like, okay. Oh, wait, he's a Joe.
Well, this is what the Israelis do. They've always wanted this regime change war, and so they continually use their influence through official channels and then also through their echo chamber in the media to move the red line. They did this with the enrichment issue. President Trump initially said, our policy is no nuclear weapons for Iran. The Iranian Supreme Leader agreed. There was a lot of space there for negotiations. There was negotiations that were taking place for several months. Then the pro-Israel lobby basically came in and convinced President Trump that the new red line was zero enrichment. 12-day war happens. Operation Midnight Hammer happens. We take away the ability for them to enrich. The Iranians withhold their proxies. They don't retaliate in any meaningful way. They get right back to the negotiating table. And then we're hearing basically what Will just said. Oh, now we have to go in and attack Iran because of this ballistic missile capability. So the red line moves again every time Israel needs a new justification for the war, and they get the outcome that they want by using their pressure network and their media echo chamber and their official engagements with the U.S. government. They were still worried that we were going to get a deal with the Iranians. And so therefore they went ahead and said, hey, we're going to preemptively go into Iran and attack, knowing that this attack would be against the regime. Iran's reaction to an attack directly against the regime would be to enact their contingency plan, which would be targeting our bases in the region. So the only actual imminent threat that Iran posed was the attack threat by the Israelis against Iran. There was no imminent Iranian threat attack against us.
No, I don't think there was for a moment. Will Chamberlain, I mean, as we sit here today debating, the regime remains in place. Trump wants to argue it's different people, therefore it's a new regime. But it's the same people, it's the same regime. It's just the faces of...
Minus the 100 senior leaders who are all dead.
So a few of the leaders have gone, but they've been replaced by others.
A few?
They've been replaced by others.
He's so horny. He's so fucking excited, dude. I feel like these guys like edge themselves for weeks and weeks on Trump speeches, and then whenever they get to go on a show to try to show off like how much of a fucking cum load they've saved up in their Trump balls, they're like fucking so excited every time they scored out another fucking load. So successful. Oh, fucking Trump.
From the same regime with the same ideology. It would be like saying you've decapitated the Trump regime, but he's replaced by a bunch of people called Trump. It's like, it's kind of...
I mean, that's what happened in Venezuela, right? We
Venezuela, the regime
hasn't... Venezuela, now
the regime hasn't changed in Venezuela. All that's changed is the president got picked up in the middle of the night and put in a New York prison cell. Jeez. But the regime's continued. His own number two is running it. So the regime is still there. So
okay.
I think we should be clear about what regime change means, right? with my quaint old head on, regime change means you change the regime, not that you just take out a few people at the top of it and they get replaced.
It's semantics. Oh, it's semantics. Oh, my bad. Semantics.
Other people from the same regime. Secondly, the enriched uranium remains in Iran. None of that has been secured by either the Americans or Israelis as we speak. Thirdly, the Straits of Hormuz remain under the control of the Iranians, which it wasn't in control of it before this war started. And it is, despite what you say, they are now charging money. Apparently they want to charge $1 a barrel was the last thing I read. And Trump's all for it because it's going to make everyone rich. So they've got control of that. They've continued to fire rockets, it seems, at some of their Gulf state neighbors. So I'm looking at this historic victory and I'm thinking, well, where's the victory? What is the victory? Because I don't see it. And forgive me if I take with a pinch of salt this idea that now...
Let's try this by historical analogy.
Let me finish my point.
Yeah, let's use a historical, because we sure as fuck can't talk about this right now. What historical analogy are we going to use?
Apparently, we're now supposed to believe that rather like 8-9 months ago, Iran's capability of building a nuclear weapon has been destroyed, like it was 9 months ago. Well, why can't they just pop up again in 9 months? They've still got all the enriched uranium. What's going to stop them? So look, I put it to you that the charge sheet against the claim of historic victory is pretty big.
All right, so I'll deal first with that minor point on the enriched uranium, right? President Trump
minor
said
point?
Untrue. No. I mean, in relation to you saying we lost the war, right? So
I didn't say America's lost the war. I'm disputing the claim.
That you didn't think it's a big victory.
I'm disputing the claim to historic victory, given the checklist I just presented.
Well, let's imagine, if you will, it's January 1942, a month after Hitler declared war on the United States in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. And the current military state of affairs is the entire German Navy is at the bottom of the sea. The Luftwaffe is destroyed. There's complete Allied air superiority over Germany. Hitler, Goering, Bormann, and Himmler are all dead in a massive military strike, and yet the German press is claiming the Germans have managed to shut down trade via some rockets in the Danish Straits. Who's winning? Is that like not? I mean, if you never did a ground invasion and Germany maintained control of literally all of fucking Europe, I think the Germans would think that they've probably won. And then you ended the war right there. What is this? How could you possibly? He must have like sat down in advance to write out the most retarded, ridiculous defenses of this. I've lost context about what it means to win a war.
I've lost the plot with that analogy. I'm sorry.
What the fuck are we talking about?
We have just decimated Iranian military capability. We struck 13,000 targets, and they managed to hit a single plane, and they couldn't even capture the soldiers.
Decimated Iranian military capability? What were they militarying against before this? What was the military threat from Iran? Iran doesn't even function like a traditional military power like that. It's through their proxies. It's not like Iran is attacking Israel directly. I mean, they started to over the past year and a half, but it was mainly issues with Hamas and Hezbollah, and even kind of sort of the fucking Houthis or whatever, but not Iranian military directly. It was all of the foreign funding and shit they did. When was the last time somebody was like, oh my God, the Iranian Navy is wreaking havoc? It was like fucking boats placing limpet mines and shit in the Strait of Hormuz. It wasn't like traditional full-on Air Force attacks and shit. Jeez, it was drones flying over to hit Saudi Arabian refineries. My God.
Even when they sent missiles at the United States, they fucking warned them beforehand.
They're like, hey, of course. Yeah, these are standard retaliatory attacks. It's fucking stupid.
That fell out of that plane. It's one of the most
and what
lopsided
about all their
military conflicts
attacks
in
on the
history.
neighboring Gulf
And the
states,
fact that you have a
hitting oil
temporary
refineries,
restraint of
hitting
trade
tourist
and
areas.
increasing gas by $1 a gallon for a month does not change that in the slightest.
Really?
100%.
So you're
it's a
looking at
massive
this
military victory.
Okay, Joe, this is a great victory, and I've lost the plot.
Yeah.
Great victory is the fact that we have a ceasefire, and this could have been much, much worse. However, as opposed to making some like obscure World War II reference, because everything always has to be about World War II, let's just compare the situation between now and just a month ago before the war. The Straits of Hormuz, before this last iteration of war kicked off, the Straits of Hormuz were open for commerce. People and companies could transit that for free. Iran didn't have a stranglehold on that. Our GCC alliance was completely intact. There was still a guarantee of American security. That hadn't been fractured. We had a regime inside of Iran, although they were not the best. It's not exactly what we wanted. They had a prohibition on building a nuclear weapon, and they were involved in active negotiations with us. They were closely adhering to a strict escalation ladder. Their proxies were not attacking us. No, that's exactly what happened. They
had 60%
were not building nuclear weapons.
What do you think they were using that
so
for?
What?
Medical purposes?
Where is it at now? Yeah, where is it at now, dipshit? Where the fuck is the uranium at, you fucking retard? Guess what? They still have it, and now they don't have a prohibition on using it for nuclear weapons.
And they're making $2 million a ship.
Yeah, Jesus.
If they wanted a bomb, they had decades, long before President Trump ever became the president, to develop a nuclear weapon. There was a prohibition by the Ayatollah, which was a reasonable and calculated approach. They didn't want to become like Libya. They didn't want to become like Saddam. They had reached the point where they would keep the capability, but not develop a nuclear weapon.
With Witkoff,
and they were in negotiations with us, and we were not at war.
Give up our enrichment rights. rights, and we won't give you up anything diplomatically.
But we were at the negotiating table with them. There was a potential for a deal.
The Iranian nuclear archive, which is
now fast forward to where we're at right now. Look at the Straits of Hormuz. Look at the GCC.
Let me ask Will a question, which is, Will, does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Yes, almost certainly. I mean, they haven't officially claimed it, but
why don't we know for a fact?
Because they don't want to say so, because there's American statutes.
Why do they get a pass? Why do they get a pass about that?
Well, because
they've already got them. What are you going to do? Take them away? We're not going to disarm countries of their nuclear weapons. Like, what are we going to do?
No country's going to agree to that anymore.
Yeah,
not after
but you want to reduce people having new nuclear weapons? Like, this is a pointless question.
Our ally and Iran's our enemy.
See,
it's
so
because
friends,
we're the good guys.
Okay,
and
it's very interesting. A very interesting admission. So our
Ah.
friends don't need to be transparent about their nuclear capability, but our
it's going to
enemies
be America's friend.
But our enemies do.
Yes,
Wow.
that's exactly how it works.
Well, that's
because we have the B-2 bomber and they
brazen
don't.
hypocrisy, isn't it?
No, it's only hypocrisy if you don't have a normative view of whether the United States is good and Iran is bad.
I don't think
If
there's
you
a
have normative view
single.
of those
There is
things,
no
they're very
single.
Oh, it's good guys and bad guys. Oh.
Yes.
There is
Bad people
no
get to do
single
less
good
things than
reason
people.
why Israel should be allowed to refuse to admit whether it has nuclear weapons. There's no
Because-
reason. They should be.
Well, called the international law police.
They should be-
Again, they're a core ally of the United States, and the United States is the most powerful country in the world. This whole multipolarity talk is just silly. There's a unipolar hegemon in the world. It's the United States, and we're also very benevolent. And so Israel, our friend, does it. Gets
When you say
gets to do
America
things that
is,
the
when you
Iranians
say,
don't.
okay,
That's the way the world
when
works.
you say America is benevolent, how does that sit with the President of the United States 2 days ago talking about the imminent destruction of an entire civilization?
He was trolling.
Oh, you mean like death to America, death to Israel?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I thought he just said we had a normative view of the world, that there were good guys and bad guys. Why is he now taking the moral, relativistic, or subjectivist position of anybody can say anything, it doesn't actually matter? Well, I'm sorry, I thought there were good guys and bad guys. Didn't he just say that there were good guys and bad guys? So why is he comparing the actions of the U.S. president to the actions of the Iranian leaders?
We've
I'm
dealt
talking
with
about
for 30
Donald Trump.
years.
Talking about Donald
throws
Trump
one
saying it is.
post out
I'm
and
talking
everybody
about
loses
Donald
their
Oh,
Trump.
it's just one post. Bro, oh my God. It's unreal, the level of just simpery. It's embarrassing.
in the middle of a
I'm talking
negotiation
about
and
Donald
signs a
Trump.
ceasefire within 8 hours.
I'm talking about
Come on.
Donald Trump threatening to annihilate 90 million people in
Casey
his own words.
McFarland had it right
in
yesterday.
his
You
own
guys all
words
took
on
the
his
bait on
post.
that.
Do you not care
You
about
took
that?
the bait?
I just see it as negotiating bluster. Trump's been doing
Negotiating? What did he negotiate?
that stuff for
What's
40
a
years.
threatened genocide?
You understand that if you keep saying none of it is real, it's all bullshit, it's all fake, why would it be a negotiating tactic then? Who's going to take it seriously?
I mean, that's exactly what the Iranians have been doing to us. They had a clock in the middle of their downtown.
You just said that there were good guys and bad guys.
America should be as
the entire country of
amoral.
Israel.
America should be amoral, if not as immoral as its enemies. So what you're saying?
We should be sufficiently ruthless to get our negotiated pieces that actually make sense, which we seem to have done here. Apparently, this focused the Iranians' mind and made them realize they should come to the table.
Are you aware that threatening to commit an act of genocide in itself could be presented as a war crime?
Who
I
cares?
think that would be frivolous.
Really?
Again, send the international law police to the White House if you want.
The police. Yeah.
Joe Kent, what's remarkable is there's a kind of arrogance to the way Will is talking. Like, none of this matters. I think it does matter. I've known Trump a long time. I consider him a friend. But on this, I think he's lost the plot. And I think the idea that from the White House, you issue a statement in your own words threatening the annihilation of an entire civilization, an entire country of 90 million Iranians, I thought was disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, and could well be a crime.
I'm glad that President Trump's tactic worked out and we have a ceasefire. I think what's critical is that we make sure that we keep the Straits of Hormuz open, get the negotiating table. We have to hold back Israel to make that happen. If our goal was to make sure that Iran didn't get a nuclear weapon or that other states that we're adversarial with get a nuclear weapon, we just set a horrible example here because Iran showed that they were going to play ball with us, that they were in the negotiation process, that they just wanted some enrichment. And yet we came in and we killed the leader that put that prohibition on. The lesson that the other people who are coming up in the ranks in the Iranian regime have learned is that they better get a nuclear weapon. Otherwise, this is going to happen to them too. Actually, one of the most vindicated countries in this whole exchange has been North Korea, who obtained a nuclear weapon for this very reason. So if we want to make sure that countries that we're adversarial with or rogue countries don't try to develop a nuclear weapon, the second one of them gets to the negotiating table, the last thing that we should do is go and launch a regime change war, a decapitation strike against that leadership. So I think the lesson learned here is that now this galvanized, harder generation of IRGC officers and Ayatollahs are going to take over Iran. They better get a nuclear weapon. And that's going to be a major problem for us going forward. So that's why we need to take this round of negotiations very seriously. I hope President Trump used that talk, that bolster, that bluster to get them to the negotiating table. But there's only so many different times that you can use that. So the next time if these negotiations don't go well and President Trump says, like, I'm going to annihilate you, that might not have the exact same effect.
Well,
so
it won't
I think we have to be very
point,
careful with our language.
That's the point, Will. You know, I made the point yesterday. You become the boy that cried wolf, the emperor with no clothes. If you say we're going to wipe out an entire civilization and then nothing happens, well, you know, you become a bit of a lame duck in terms of your threats. I mean, I would put to you this.
Did you want him to follow through?
No.
He's so retarded. Oh my God. Dude, it's got to be training to make the mind this fucking stupid. It has to be training to make the mind this fucking stupid.
Of course not.
Okay, good. Just checking.
What, did you want him to follow through on the message that he tweeted as the president of the United States? Did you want him to keep to his word?
Of course not. But here's what's interesting. Trump welcomed the 10-point plan as if it was somehow brand new, which it wasn't. But the 10-point plan, which he says is very workable in terms of the negotiations. Let's just go through this, and I'll ask you, how many of these do you think are acceptable? Number one, the Iranians want commitment to non-aggression. Number two, Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz.
This is just totally misconceived. Like, from the outset, he said that the 10 points, he just truthed about this. The 10 points that the reporters are saying, the ones you're quoting from, are not the basis on which he said.
Well, these are the 10 points, according to the Iranian media.
It's not what Trump has agreed to, and he's repeatedly said this is not the thing he's workable. And he put out a slew of truths today saying he's going to continue to insist full dismantlement of the Iranian nuclear program, return of the highly enriched uranium, which, again, this whole idea that there was a peaceful fatwa. Remember, they had 60% enriched uranium, 11 kilograms, or 450 kilograms worth of it, enough for 11 bombs. Like,
so when Trump says he welcomes the 10-point plan, in fact, he doesn't.
He's trolling.
But he's looking for, I think the basis for the negotiations is something that's much more favorable to the United States.
Oh. So then why would you call it a massive win already? Why would you already call it a massive victory if we don't actually have it negotiated yet? Hello?
So why would he say then he welcomes the 10-point plan?
Well, I think he was thinking of a different plan in his mind.
Trimple as.
Shrimple as, dude. Shrimple as. Shrimple as.
Oh, come off it, Will.
Future post,
you know what? The worst thing about
like, remember, this is all from like, I don't know if he thought the election was rigged. I can't read his mind. To Trump saying, oh, the 10-point plan, we agreed to it. And now Will is like, actually, a fucking psychic. Oh, I think in his mind, he had envisioned a totally different 10-point plan than the one that the Iranian state media that agreed to this deal is tweeting out about.
It's not what he was thinking.
The worst thing
I don't
about
know why on earth he would agree to that.
The torturous knot that people have pulled.
Yeah.
You can literally just read his truth feed. He's like,
you just said that his truth thing was wrong, though.
And
it's not truthful.
White House rapid response on this. They've been like,
his
no,
truth
this
feed,
isn't true.
ironically,
obviously, it's not true because if Iran was getting these kind of concessions out of the United States, they'd have also been able to save Hezbollah, but they can't even do that.
Okay, well, actually, it turns out that right now, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz again and says it will not reopen as long as Israel's attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon. So who is...
It sounds like they put a new condition on the deal. Perhaps they'll get struck again. That's probably very unwise of the Iranians.
Is it? Or is it wielding the most powerful tool in this whole war, which turns out to be a little piece of waterway, which they can exercise control over and strangle and paralyze the global economy?
That didn't stop the United States from striking 13,000 targets over a period of 5 weeks, completely decimating the American military, the Iranian military.
Careful.
If it was that powerful, it should have been able to stop that from happening and force it.
If it was that powerful, motherfucker, shutting down the strait isn't defeating the U.S. military. Oh my God.
An earlier ceasefire, it wasn't.
Okay, but the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. So how successful is it?
I mean, honestly, you guys, everybody's just overblowing the Straits of Hormuz closure vis-a-vis the United States. We're
It's
the largest oil
literally
producer in
been
the
the
world.
most
It's good for us if oil prices
devastating.
go up.
Just to be clear, Will,
God.
the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, by most experts' analysis, has been the single greatest shock in a negative way to the global economy ever.
Well, that can't be true because oil prices were higher in the at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war. So that just can't be true.
That was a shock that was building up over years. This shock was acute. It was instantaneous onset for no reason, and we don't even know when the end is of this.
This has had a greater negative impact on the global economy, specific to energy, of anything we've seen ever, and it's going to get worse.
I mean, again, then why did the price spike even more at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war?
I know you're a facts guy. Go and check the facts.
God. Okay, I mean, I'm sure somebody said that. I'm just saying, you can't explain the discrepancy. I think you're overstating things.
All the economic analysts have said the same thing. This has been the worst energy shock that we've ever seen, ever. But look, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure it's kind of a trivial detail.
The complete destruction of the Iranian military.
All right, look, I've got to leave it there. Joe, last word to you. Joe, last word to you.
I'm just saying, now the Iranians are in even a stronger position than they were prior to this war. The last 20 plus years of GWAT has shown us that we can basically take out targets, we can strike targets all day, and our enemies will endure simply by not losing, and they will use the leverage of the geography that they have at their disposal to have an effect that we can't sustain. And that's the position we're in right now. Again, that's why.
What is this guy's the biggest fucking loser on the planet? What?
Exactly, to have an effect that we can't sustain, and that's the position we're in right now. Again, that's why exactly I hope that President Trump uses this opportunity.
They can be as mad as they want. If they're throwing rocks, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but if they're closing,
all they have to do is be able to affect the straits, and they can have a strategic effect.
Yeah.
They understand that now. They probably didn't understand that, or weren't willing to use it prior to this iteration of war. And that's why President Trump is at the negotiating table right now, because he realizes the effect that was having on the American economy, and he made the right decision. I think President Trump made the right decision to get to the negotiating table. So now we have to pursue our objective, which is getting the straits open and maintaining the ceasefire and holding together the alliances that we have in the Gulf. And so to do that, we've got to restrain our junior partner, the Israelis.
Okay, I've got to leave it there. Thank you both very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.